Okay, Jeff, looking at your swing, pretty impressive stuff actually. And I know the video I got in the transfer here has kind of scrunched everything together, so it's not going to be, precisely the right dimensions, but I still think I got a pretty good idea what's going on here too, and I confirmed it looking at my cell phone too, the videos I got from Taylor. So I'm just going to play the down the line here first. I like your takeaway. Pretty much up the plane line, it's close enough. And again, the video is not perfect, so I'm going to call that good. What I noticed at first when I looked at it, and because the video gets scrunched together here, it's not as apparent, but you do get the path or the club handle and hands fairly high at the top. What I'd like to say, I generally teach someone to be like this, more across, more like flat. You'd look for the hands to be back in here. But for you, seeing as you're a little taller and whatever, I wouldn't go to that extreme, but I do think the backswing, the only thing that I'd like to see you change is just get a little flatter and more in like this green circle, not necessarily the yellow, but the green, so it's going to pull the club down a little more. And the reason why is, it's not I just don't teach everybody just the same swing or just prefer it, but when you swing down, and where I was saying you're mixing patterns, you swing down in your first move that I can picture here, the club handle has to turn to get the head behind you, behind your hands, behind your body, to flatten it out, and then the butt of the club is aimed towards the outside of the ball, which is fine. But on the way through, where you mix the patterns, as you can see early here, the club exits very low. Now typically when the club exits low and left for a player, they generally want a pretty rounded swing anyway. Basically what you're looking for is the back swing to mirror the front forward swing as much as possible, or vice versa, depending on how you look at it. For you, your impact positions, I'm going to go back to pretty close to impact here. There we go. Your impact positions are actually pretty darn good. Play this face on. It's a little blurry, but I still think we can see the general gist here. There we go. There we go. So even though camera's off a little and whatnot, hands have met the ball easily. I think this view too, you're aimed a little bit off to the left, which is fine. So that makes the ball position look a little more forward than it is. But what I'm looking for is the fact that your trail elbow, your right elbow, is already into your body. If you look over here on the right too, same thing. If you look at it, a lot of great players throughout time, Ben Hogan and Don January and some of these old guys, this was just an essential move for them to create some leverage and some power, and get the body rotation, get the body to do the rotating through the hip and not the hands. And you do that. And it's especially why I'm really impressed with your swing. The only thing that could be improved in the impact zone for you is getting the shaft, which is above this initial shaft plane line. This yellow line represents basically the impact. It's just a hair before. And the green is the initial line. There's a lot of space there. So if you can swing slightly flatter in the backswing, and you can come around and get the butt of your club aimed more towards your belt buckle, so it'd be more somewhere in that region. It'd be slightly above, but not so far above. Again, because the video is scrunched, I would, if I had like a perfect video of this, I would almost guarantee it would actually look higher than even that, if we had normal camera view. So I do think that's the one major issue in the impact area that could help be changed by the fact you get a little flatter in the backswing, and on the way through, we want you to get the handle of the club to aim more towards your belt buckle. Let me pull this onto a live cam here for a second. Okay, so if I was gonna, hopefully you can hear this, if I was going to have you do a drill for this, on the way through, I want you to come down and feel like the butt of the club is exiting left like you already do it, but it's aimed towards your belt buckle. Okay? Just like that, instead of the high hands that you get like this. More like that, really. But drag it through and let it exit where you normally do. What you're doing now is you're getting high, and then you're going to have to work hard with the hands to get it to exit left. You know, so if I have high hands here, I have to work really hard to get it around my body. I think that's what you're having to do. So you're having to manipulate the face so much to get the flight go on. Again, not obviously a pretty good player, so you're able to manipulate it pretty well, so it doesn't seem like a big issue, but I think that's where some of your thins come from too. When the shaft gets up, we have to pull up off the ground, or we have to get that club to come up a little bit more, because if you just kept swinging down, the heel would hit and you'd hit fat shots all the time. So you've just gotten really good at it. Not being, not hitting it fat, or not making a big mistake, but just a little further down, more around your body with the handle of the club in this impact, the strike zone. So in terms of the face on, I really don't have a whole lot to say. I think you're doing the Foley, the stack and tilt idea really well. If I clear this out for a second, you actually would do it exactly how I would teach someone to do it. So we've got a straighter right leg. And go back over on the right too. So the right leg straightens slightly, the left knees come in. Some angles there. You're on your left side certainly, but you've also coiled your upper body. So you see sometimes as people, they take stack and tilt, and this is kind of what I was worried about, but you don't have that problem. What they do is they get going towards a target too much. You're making a pretty good mobile movement with your upper body. In a perfect world, I would try to get your chest not so far back. Still leaning back or still leaning away from the target in a nice turn, but not maybe just a little less than you're doing now, okay? But I think for the most part, this impact zone, getting the handle down and the backswing getting just a little flatter would go a long way to helping you. So in terms of the wedge swings, even though we don't have one here, I want to just do a few things, show you a few examples. I'm just guessing that the reason you struggle with maybe pitching or wedge play, whatnot, is utilizing the bounce. I'm just going to pull up a few clips. So they got Sergio here. Sets the club immediately. Rotates the body. Uses the bounce. Even though there's a descending blow there, it's not a really hard angle of attack. He's just kind of brushing the ground here, utilizing the bounce to make the ball go up and to get consistency. Ernie here with little wedge as a full shot. Actually a swing you would probably want to mimic. Not super deep divots, not a hard, aggressive movement of the ball. Now again, I don't know that that's your problem, but most of the time with good players that I see, they don't utilize the bounce very well. What they'll try to do, and again, if this doesn't pertain to you, it doesn't, I think it's just good information at least to know, but good players tend to de-loft, have it back, and hit down and pitch it up. What I'd like to see in a drill or a video I'm going to send you, Tom Pernice, he uses the bounce really well. So what we're really looking for is, instead of this exaggerated forward move, we want to be really centered still and brush the ground and utilize the bounce more. So we can get some sort of consistent flight, or at least add shots to your game. So obviously there's a place for a shot like this where we're trying to pitch it in there. But if it's the only shot you got, and same thing is true if this is the only shot you got, we're in a little bit of a, you don't have as many options. So I try to use the bounce a little bit more, maybe play with a little chip around the greens that can be made into a pitch. I try to take it outside as much as possible and cut across and get it up and utilize the bounce and get a little bit more spin on it. So just some little things. If you have more questions on that, feel free to send me them. And two, as far as your setup would go for a wedge, you know, I guess I'd like to see a video of it. If you've got time and you do a wedge swing, maybe a couple different, you know, show me a chip shot and then show me a pitch and then show me, you know, just a normal full wedge shot. That would be, I guess that would be helpful too. And also with your angle of attack coming in and the steepness of the shaft, having to work so hard on the way through, I think it would be nice to see if you were able to shallow it out, you'll be able to get a cleaner, consistent contact, especially in those lower clubs. So again, these are just little things. I'm really impressed. Most people don't have near the impact position you do to start off with, and then the fact the club rotates around your body so well is really good. So I'm going to throw up just one last little comparison example here for you in terms of the swing. From this is just a couple years ago. I had Oaks when he was struggling. He made a swing change at college and then was struggling a little bit. This was his freshman year in college. And then we just did a few drills to clean it up. Okay. Yeah. So he gets pretty high. Again, he's obviously shorter than you, but gets pretty high, and he had the tendency to come down on it, but same case where the shaft gets really high through the hitting zone. Okay? Again, he's able to save it like you do pretty well, and he was able to hit at least decent shots. Then we got him going with the ball in between his arms after some work. Actually, very similar takeaway to yourself, maybe a little more outside, more across and behind, and then through, less face rotation, less need to make compensation. So, just some things to keep in mind. I think this ball between the arms drill would help in the backswing, especially your downswing's pretty good. So with the downswing, you're just trying to get that handle leaning towards your belt buckle, shallow out the shaft angle into the hip. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I'd be happy to help. So have a good night, and hope you enjoy it.